Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sober Truth Podcast. Today we have on the show with us a dear friend of George Woods, a great spiritual leader in the Tampa Bay area, a man of inspiration. He's a man of God and a speaker of hope, love, and warmth. Awesome guy all around, Jon Dengler. Jon Dengler currently serves as the executive director with the Well Incorporated and the CEO of WellBuilt Bikes. Jon has done many positive and uplifting things in our community and continues to look forward to how he can make an even greater impact in the future, primarily focusing on the homeless and less fortunate. So listen in today as Jon and George Wood talk about life, recovery, and faith.
I am sitting here with my good friend Jon Dengler, and I would give you this long resume of things that he's done. But I would probably just lose you in the craziness of it all. For one, we've been I would consider us very good friends for going on almost 13, 14 years, and we have lived in the same neighborhoods. We have done ministry with the same population. We have been involved with crazy situations with the people we've done ministry with. It's just been a pretty crazy last 10, 13 years, whatever it's been. And I've wanted to get Jon in for a long time just because I think, well, obviously Jon's awesome if you don't know him already. His name is getting pretty big in the Tampa area. Everywhere I go, I hear Jon Dengler. So it's,
is that right?
No, I really do. We'll get to that in a second. So, but I want to just kind of let him do a little bit of intro on his life and times and tell you who he is. So in case any of the people that just know me can get to know somebody I consider a friend and somebody I'm honored to have done ministry with, and also somebody that I look up to. So, Mr. Jon Dengler, everybody.
I'm Jon. A little of my own intro. You'd think I'd be better at this. I have people do this all the time. So I never know how to frame myself. I'm just trying really hard to rehearse a vision of a world that I would want to live in and trying to flesh that out. And so that's led to lots of different experiences and experiments really in different things that we've done. We have a small nonprofit known as the Well. Not many people know, the Well is less and less talked about these days because we're really kind of more publicizing or talking about projects like WellBuilt Bikes. So we have a local nonprofit bike shop. We sell affordable, reliable transportation. Basically, we refurbish bikes, sell them at affordable prices. We have a full service repair shop located right near USF. And then we take all the service and sales revenue and we invest it into an Earn a Bike program and sliding scale repairs, basically so folks that can't afford to gain access to transportation needs, get those needs met, can earn a bike through community service hours. And then sliding scale repairs is exactly like it sounds. Hey, this repair is $75, but you have 75 cents, so it's 75 cents, and we cover the cost of the rest of it just off of the whatever we're able to make through our normal priced services and sales. We're trying our best to really build an ecosystem in my mind. The bike shop is like a one building block of a much bigger vision, but just trying to kind of establish the kind of city that we would like to live in and build a different kind of economy. At some level, and I'll just shut up because I don't want to be long-winded on this because it's actually not the easiest question for me to answer. At some level, I would say if I had to define it, I think of myself a little like a practical philosopher. So I'm really into ideas and philosophy and abstract concepts, but I don't believe anything that isn't concrete. So people say, I'm into this. I'm like, show me, I want to see it in action. And so, but I also think that's the best way to experiment with ideas. So I have an idea or a question. At the beginning of running a social enterprise or a business, I had a question like Jesus said, you can't serve God and money. And I was like, that's probably true since Jesus said that. But I wonder if we can do something that makes some money and still serves these purposes without losing our way. And to this, we're 4 years into running the bike shop. It's still an open question, and it is very hard to walk that line. But that's kind of my model. It's like I have an idea. Let's go try it in the street or in business or in some concrete way, and then come back and think about it and go. And so that's kind of a cycle I've been running for as long as I can remember now. And so far so good. I'm having a good time.
So far,
It's
so good.
not boring. Let's just, basically I'm just trying not to be bored.
I'm trying not to be bored.
Yeah.
I need to put that in quotes. When you put this together as a video, it's Jon Dengler, How Not to Be Bored. It's a life lesson number 1.
There you go.
Let's do a little history lesson for some people. I met you. You were in the lake house. How would you describe the lake house?
Yeah, so how would I describe that? All right, so I had historically, so I had worked for, I worked for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and at the end of that season, I was like, okay, I'm leaving this work. I'm not doing campus ministry. I had at that point had lived in the city, kind of in a fairly poor neighborhood here in the city, not far from where George has kind of set up shop, and I talked a bunch of guys into moving into this house together and said, and we kind of modeled ourselves. If anyone's familiar, there's this movement in history, really from the Great Depression. These folks, this thing that was known as the Catholic worker. And the Catholic worker ran these things they called houses of hospitality for the poor, basically a flop house. If you remember, or you've seen images of old bread lines in the Great Depression, a lot of that was the Catholic worker. And we loved this. Hospitality is kind of a core value. We moved a bunch of people in and we're like, let's just see how far we can take hospitality. So we did one basic thing that was just like a house church. Every Wednesday night, we'd open up the doors so that like a broader community of folks could come in from the neighborhood. And, some of us were in college, some of us had jobs or whatever. So different places people would gather. But the house itself, we tried to like aggressively practice hospitality. We were literally putting our address on business cards and handing them to people on the streets and just like come whenever. And just did our best to keep the doors open and to be like, we have a couch, you can sleep on it. There's a shower, you can use it. There's a laundry machine, you can use it. And just practice sharing and neighborliness and just trying to be, honestly, trying to figure out how to be Christian. And the house itself functionally was a bit of a detox, not from drugs or alcohol, but from an addiction to comfort and security and entitlement and all of these things that I think our culture is really like convinced us that are central to a good life, but we found that to be questionable. And it was by the way, I need to know this up front. Do people cuss on this show?
Sure.
Okay. Because it was a shit show. But it was awesome. Eventually the wheels came off of it. We ended up opening. That's where the well really was given birth to, because we opened up a drop-in center down the street from the house. Ultimately because, the wheels came off. Someone got stabbed in the kitchen. The house got broken into 3 times 1 month toward the end. There was people in the house that looked like they were about to have a nervous breakdown, like of the core residents. We realized... I've always been kind of a go, go, go. And then at some point it was like, oh, this is going to kill everyone, which I'm fine with, but it isn't up to me necessarily that everyone dies. And so we opened up a daytime drop-in center down the road. That's where we kind of the well really organized and ended up needing to rent a building and things like that. There was a well before that, but that's like where we really leaned in on that. And because the kind of radical hospitality posture of the house had to move out of the house. But we ran that house for at least 3 years of just like of the most hardcore of it and doing like ridiculous stuff that wasn't even necessary. Like we had convictions about like energy consumption. And so we shut the AC off for several years and we ripped the water heater out and we threw the dryer away and we started tracking. We actually we had an environmental engineer who did all the tracking, who lived there. Turns out we got our energy consumption down to, if you measured on countries, our per capita consumption was right between Iraq and Tunisia, which we were proud of because we were like, we think the earth can sustain this. Now, obviously, no one else was living that way, so it was symbolic only, which was cool. That's what symbolic's worth doing. Yeah. But like we were like, if everyone did this, like we think this would be good for the planet. So we tried. Actually, we joked the communal tombstone of our house is, we'll read, they tried.
They tried.
That's So that was the lake house, and some of my closest and best friends, because there's something they stand out from other relationships, because those guys, when I see them, it feels like, I imagine similar to like soldiers who've been in battle together. Like
absolutely
something else was formed between us, bonds that are almost unbreakable, even if there's beef, even if it's just like, no, we're kin at some very profound level now. And anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, which is where I think you and I just have always ran parallel to one another, ministry wise. And I think, it was like different populations doing similar things in a different way, but at the core, so similar, such as living in community.
Tons of similarity.
Where living with a bunch of guys in full-blown addiction and trying to stay sober and trying to stay alive. It's all like the same "they tried" message. And yeah, you're right. It's like these, you go through somebody, almost dying of a drug overdose and then nursing them back to health and, seeing somebody else in the house die. The people that are still alive, you look at each other as we went to war together. Yeah. And there's a bond in between us because of that is different than two people that just are friends and do whatever.
I've heard they call that communitas over community, like is a distinction between those two. I actually don't even know what that means, but I know it refers to that.
Yeah, it refers to that. Well, I think it's actually, similar to, Bonhoeffer's Life Together, where basically he talks about all the Christian concepts that on the surface seem good, but then let's break it down to what they really are if we're living together and doing life together. It should look like this. And so we've actually, with the Men in the Timothy Initiative, going through this phase of trying to help them understand that you say things just because people say them, but you actually don't know what they mean. Community is a big one for that, where people are like, oh, yeah, I'm in community. What does community mean to you? It's different. Communitas, being the actual practice of, is different. And it's a more... Well, as you said in the very beginning, it's a concrete thing that you can point to, that's what it means.
I actually, just to geek out on the word stuff a little bit, like I love and hate words. Like I'm really into, obviously it's what we have to communicate with, but community is a great example. And if you try to write something or communicate with a bunch of people, you maybe are in community with other people, but then you're serving the community. And so in church, I actually think is the most worthless word imaginable in that way. Is it something you go to? Is it a building? Is it a group? Is it the people of God? And like, what do we mean by that? And it's super frustrating to me. And I actually think there's some disambiguation work to be done in general. But yeah, these words are, and so we say them, but they don't necessarily communicate what we intend to communicate. There's super low resolution in what they communicate or what you hear when I say it. And then at the same time, like I just think things get lost in translation. But then, like you say, you use words, and you don't know what it's like. Well, what they mean, but what you mean even. So like, we don't get deep enough into like. So what ends up happening? This is why I was saying like it's super important for me to flesh ideas out in some concrete way and some action, because I don't believe the words we say. So like. You say, I don't believe in slavery, but I buy clothes that were made in these conditions. Or it's like I do practically rely on injustice and oppression and these, those kind of things. And so then what I think is a lot of our words just become like propaganda, nice stories we want to tell about ourselves.
And feel better about ourselves.
Super suspect.
But
still super important. You need words.
Yes, you do need words. But I think often it is the old, how do I sleep at night, scenario where, that's a good example of words being used wrong, where the slavery one and what clothes do you buy, and not realizing like you're still participating in this evil systemic, thing.
Which this is not the same topic, and I'll try to like just let you kind of lead the way here. But like just to say, like I think it's very good for us to realize that our hands are dirty. Just period. Like no one is exempt from this because of the world that we live in, because of the way life really works. It's super murky, super complicated, and your hands are drenched in blood by nature of existence. Well, but if we let go, then if we embrace that idea, that allows us to let go of the delusion of cleanliness or clean hands, and then we can proceed with the work ahead of us, right? And so anyway, that's been really helpful to me. because things are ambiguous, things are hard,
Yeah.
things are difficult. We got to just get our hands dirty and figure it out. By
Yeah.
the way, they're already dirty, so
Well,
it is what
yeah,
it is.
yeah. I
Proceed.
think it matters like what we're talking about as a baseline for what we're trying to accomplish here.
Sure, you're like, some of my guys are going to listen to this, John.
No. I just mean like even it's like I just think that we've been in a world for too long that is supposedly one-to-one causation. This happens and then this happens. It's like, okay, bam, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not. The world is created, and I would actually say we live out a parable.
Yeah.
Because, there's times Jesus spoke and he spoke about exact things that would happen, but most of the time, Scripture even says he mostly spoke in parables, because parables give us a reason to dig deeper, a reason to try to understand on a deeper level, and a lot of times has multiple meanings, right? It's like the paradox of a parable.
This is really interesting, because it just occurred to me that that's actually how it works with like all of the mystics who wrote all of the books with all of the words are basically saying you can't say it.
Right.
Like, it's actually ineffable. There are not words.
Yeah.
So here's a million words trying to point to the thing that can't be said, but it's actually ineffable.
Mm-hmm.
I can't actually just say it to you. You have to
Right.
experience it. You have to enter it. You have to like a participatory embrace it, right? That's good for me anyway. I hope people follow that train of thought, but I'm like, for me, that's like a good like way to button that up, where I'm like, oh, that's actually just a fascinating idea to me.
Yeah, it is.
I'm gonna chew on that for a while.
Well, and I also think that when we look at our life and our life mission, right? I think, if we can look at it in the sense that it's a journey that we're in this, it's a process that we're just living out and trying to not be bored and just trying. And instead of idolizing a certain image of what we think it's supposed to look like. And often that certain image that we think it's supposed to look like does look something like hands that are not dirty, a life that is perfect and very, very clear on who's evil and who's not.
It's dangerous ideas.
And things like that. And so, yeah, I think it's a much better way to look at things as like, there isn't words for it.
Yeah.
You're living it. And at the end of our lives, we're, what do you, I think it was you at one point, you told, yes, it was you, where you're always like, yeah, what's anybody going to say about you after you die? You die, and then the next day, what are the people closest to you going to feel inside of you? And I look at it where I don't want to necessarily be able to put my life in words that like, this is what I do, and this is necessarily what I believe and stand for and all that. But I do want to impact the people around me in a way that when I'm dead, they'll miss me because I was a part of their life on a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be
of value.
Then
you will be a lost value, right? Yeah, of service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a much, much cleaner way to look at it that way, I think. So, remember the time? Let's talk about crazy times. Remember the time you went away for like the summer, and me and you got together for lunch right after you got back, and you had this bright idea that you wanted to be homeless and wanted to live on the streets because you felt like it would be better that way to be able to communicate with people, and it would just be simpler that way. But you were like, I don't think it would go well in some areas of my life, so I can't do it. But
I don't specifically remember that, but that doesn't sound insane. I also wanted to move into the rooming house. Because it was just like, I just want to be with my people. Yeah, no, I don't specifically remember that, but that's probably an idea that's just been recurring throughout, and I think probably a good question. Like in general, like the closest I came to that was just staying on the streets with a friend for a little under a week, just to like walk in their shoes, and it has shaped me. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'd be an alcoholic in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely understandable.
Oh, totally.
I was like, I can't sleep out here. What are we doing? There's dew all over me, bugs. I'm like, man, I need to drink till I pass out or die. It was so brutal.
Yeah.
And then constant walking, the blisters on my feet, the you're not allowed to sit down anywhere, stop anywhere. I was like, man, People that say like homeless people are lazy,
Yeah, they
just
have no
don't.
idea.
They've never met a homeless person. Now I know some homeless people, and some of them are freaking lazy, but they still gotta walk. They still gotta work their tail off to like get to lunch.
They haven't quite made the connection that they're working just as hard
just to survive.
To survive. Where, yeah, totally. So we've met some crazy people over our time.
Literally and figuratively. Yep.
Remember Nature?
I do. So Nature. Let me see. Nature, if you guys are familiar with the Rainbow People, they're like a bunch of hippies that travel around and post up in the woods in different places. They're known as the Rainbow People. And Nature was one of the Rainbow People. Like he'd traveled with them for a while. And he was bonkers. He was also like had this like beautiful kind of craziness. He had these sketchbooks and journals of just like, he really believed he was on to like answers to the universe, and had journals that look like Leonardo's journals. Like they're just drawings and inventions, and God only knows what all was in them, you know, like maybe there was some real good things in there. But he had, at least this is the, so we met him, he had one arm. He had half of the second arm kind of cut off at the elbow. Now, this is the story he told me. So I could just tell you what he told me is, I believe that we can regenerate our limbs. And because I believed that, I laid down on a railroad track and let a train take my arm off so that I could prove it. And the technique he used was to aggressively massage the tip of the stump with like this piece of wood that he was always like rubbing his stump with this piece of wood and like neurotically rubbing it. It's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just growing my arm back. You'll see, I'm growing my arm back. I mean, I think that pretty well illustrates like the nature of nature a little bit. Dude was super fun.
Remember, he used to interrupt Ryan's preaching. Remember, and he would start.
I wish I had better memory.
Oh
Remind me.
I do. I just remember because Brian would we'd go through the question phase of the sermon, and then finally go into the actual sermon, and Nature would just be standing up.
I thought we were having a conversation here.
Yes.
Oh, now you're just going to take over the conversation?
Yes, that's what he would do, and we'd have to escort him out. And it was. I remember the time you maybe don't remember because I apparently have the better memory of us.
I
but
have none.
He took all the lids off of the toilets. He kept taking them off and putting little words, notes above the toilet saying this is for drinking as well. So the water that would fill the toilet.
Oh, in the back.
Yes, he would take the lid off the back of the toilet, and so instead of just flushing all that water, you could.
By the way, this is actually a cool thing you just reminded me of. I want to go home and make one now. You replace the thing on the back of your toilet. So you know how the hose, how they work. The hose comes out and it feeds the tube that fills
that's
the bowl.
what he would think that people are supposed to drink.
So you run that, what's fresh, clean water.
It is.
So you run that tube up. So you put a new thing on the back and you run it up a faucet, and then it goes down into like a bowl that you put in like a sink, and you just install a drain, and that drain funnels into the tube that it goes in. So when you flush the toilet, you can wash your hands, and the toilet fills with the hand wash water, which is perfectly fine. And I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea.
It's actually a really good idea.
And it is just drinking water. It's completely fine.
Yeah.
It just happens to be in the back of your toilet.
But I used to have to tell them all, stop taking the backs off the toilet.
Stop telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Tell people to drink out of the toilet because Brian won't let you come to the building anymore if you keep doing this. It was kind of a difficult challenge.
Lots of people trying to wear out their welcome, just seeing how far they could push it.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those. Tomas,
Yeah, fond memories of Tomas.
Yeah.
Love Tomas. That was actually who I stayed on the streets with for our season as well. And he lived with us for a little while. And he
lived with us. But remember, he was going in between. He lived with me, and then he lived with you. And then
which by nature of him was like, that was only going to last so long.
Yeah.
He was kind of a traveler by necessity, relationally even, I think, but beautiful dude. But I think emotional had a lot to do with challenging relational dynamics sometimes. But man, love and miss Tomas, and if Tomas is listening, I'd love to hear from you sometime.
Yeah, it's been I think the last time we heard from him was a few years back. He showed up at our house. Yeah, it was during a difficult time, and Yeah, good, just a good dude. What do you think, all your journeys with people on the streets, helping those particular communities, what do you think the most misunderstood concept of working with the homeless or what the homeless are all about would be?
Man, that's so hard to answer because the answer is like everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some fundamental level, people are people, but there is a disproportional amount of mental illness and addiction, and those are. It's hard to tell which one comes first sometimes because like addiction can lead to the streets, mental illness can lead to the streets when you kind of burn bridges with your family. But also the streets will make you crazy. Like I just spent a few nights out there and I was like, I will be an addict. I will have some sort of illness or I'm going to go commit a crime to fix this situation really quick. I don't think I would endure there very long without some really drastic measures. But like, I would say that, I mean, if you know like history at all, like in the 80s, there was like a deinstitutionalization under the leadership of Ronald Reagan, which was like, hey, we have these places for mental patients and they're poorly run and no one should live in these conditions and all these exposés. And so for really good reasons, they're like, hey, we need to end this model. But our society never replicated a model. So what we did was we flushed that into the alleyways. And so in some sense, what is in our alleys is open asylum. And I actually do think that, I mean, these are all individuals with individual stories, and they're worth hearing and learning. Some of the most educated people I've met actually are folks on the streets and have fallen on hard times or depression or addiction or whatever, and ended up in those situations. You will be very surprised by the diversity of things out there, but then also that we're all just human beings. We have stories in common. But yeah, I think it's important to know, other than just the individual dynamic, this as a population is a symptom of a illness of our society. It's just like if you had rashes and you'd be like, well, I could just treat your rashes, that sore hurts, so you put some cream on it. But like, it's actually a problem of a systemic issue going on in your body that we can't seem to get to, can't seem to address. It's a super complex problem, but I go, man, I think there's nothing but because you have two things. So you have like, oh, that poor bum needs to, this dude's a bum and needs to get a job and he's just lazy. Okay, cool. And yet on the flip side, you have really compassionate people. They're like, we just want to give food to the hungry and do this stuff, but like keep no boundaries, like people treat them however they want, talk however they want, and like in both cases, I go, this is a bad way to behave with people, any people, people anywhere. You don't let people walk all over you, and you don't write people off as evil and tear back to the thing we were talking about earlier. It's not so like in this man or woman is both like beauty and worth and goodness. And I've never met someone that wasn't an asset, didn't have something to offer. Right. And yet at the same time, I've never met someone who isn't a disaster, that isn't a mess, that doesn't have major struggles, but don't we all? Right. But I'm in a situation, because I have like some income and there's a house, like when I make bad decisions, they don't end me because I can recover. I have community to lean on. I have a house to hide in. There's things that my life is supplied in a way that the same sin or the same mistake or the same whatever bad decision that might put someone else in dire straits, I have the same problem. I just have enough buttressing around me to like make it almost unnoticeable. But if you put those next to each other, we at a character level, there's very little difference. And then I'm always just the like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, in terms of like addiction and mental illness in the streets. It's like it just all kind of goes together. And so I don't know. I don't know what the thing is. It's everything. It's just like like what do people misunderstand about each other? It's like everything. We're prejudiced in some deep way. Not like, oh, people are prejudiced. It's like, no, but that's functionally how we work. Like I come, we're doing a podcast. There's some things that I expect about that, right? And so you come with expectations, and expectations are often, some are done better than others. In my mind, I'm like, expectations in general are probably not a good idea. Right. But yeah, I don't, that's the best I could do at that.
No, I think that's. We talked a little bit. We were together a few months back. I had just gotten back from California, and we talked a little bit about the different conditions that we see the homeless communities in. So Tampa being unfriendly necessarily to the homeless community. If you're homeless, you have to constantly be on the move. I think it's predominantly what happens in most cities. So whoever's watching this, it's probably the condition in your city, where basically it's illegal to be homeless, in the sense that there's nowhere that you can lay down that somebody from the city is going to say, yeah, that's okay. So you got to find a place that you can finally lay down that is not seen by authority. Anyways, California has went to the far extreme of legalized homelessness.
But now no one else is going to live there.
Yeah. So let's just talk about what you were in California not too long ago.
Portland, similar.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Where the two contrasting ways, obviously I understand there's a much deeper philosophical, whatever, systemic issue of how it's handled. But just on the surface, they can live anywhere or live nowhere. What do you think?
I think they're both ridiculous, but they're both like understandable, right? So, and it is a little bit those two postures I just laid out. Like, our behavior in Tampa, if you just analyze the behavior of the city, the way we legislate, the way we criminalize the behavior, you can't outlaw homeless people, but we outlaw every behavior. It's illegal to fall asleep in the park.
Yeah.
Why? So we can get rid of them, so we can ticket them, so we can take them to jail, whatever. So we criminalize as far as the Constitution will allow us to. But if you look at the behavior, you go, we believe that they're worthless. We believe that it's just like your garbage. Like when I live my life and I fill up a garbage can, I need someone to take that away. We treat them as refuse. We need them to go away. So out of the two, if I have to pick, I am a bigger fan of, here they are.
Yeah.
You see them every day. They are your neighbors. They don't have a home. So they have a little tent city. In Portland, it was interesting because they weren't everywhere. They were on the interstate, not like on the interstate, but like in Florida, the last place a homeless person wants to be is on FDOT property, because that's Florida law rather than Tampa law, which is worse. I do think Florida will eventually be like brought up on like class action suits against just from the homeless, like the way, and because everyone comes here, similar to California, because you could survive all year. Yeah. California is different, where it's like, what's interesting though, and I didn't get to talk to enough people, but here's what I noticed. They're everywhere, people that live on the streets. But I walked down some of those streets, and some of them are blurry, where it's kind of some of them are like Skid Row type situations, but some are like a marketplace, but there's just a lot of homeless people. And nobody, like I was like, getting ready, because it's like, I know what it's like to walk down this street with all these folks. Get ready to be asked for everything you have.
Yeah.
Nobody asked me for anything. And I was just baffled. And I was like, there seems to be some understanding or law in place. Like, you can live here. You can't harass people. I don't know what the nuance is or whatever. I do not know. But it left an impression. It's just like an observation. Like, man, I wonder what's behind that. And then obviously, like, I think something in the middle is like, I actually think for California or Tampa, the better solution, the easier solution, the less costly solution is to help provide a place for people. Like, I actually think it'd be easier to help just get people in homes. I mean, God, our city's less these days, but has had a lot of empty homes.
Sure.
Or you could build some stuff, or it's just like the kind of housing first initiatives throughout the country is like, man, this is a really good way to do this that doesn't lead to all these hospitalizations, all the extra police, all the extra conversations at City Hall, all the extra cleanups in the alleys, all the extra code enforcement. It's like to do all of that is exponentially more costly to your city economically than to just give people apartments and give them some supports, some caseworkers or whatever. And we have a couple here. We have a few examples here where that's been attempted and tried, and I think fairly successfully, but nobody wants that in their neighborhood. And so that's a hard question.
Sure.
So, but I don't know. Those are two poles of a thing that's like, very culturally very different. And they're very like conservative liberal. Like they're very obviously like
Yeah.
one of these is a very liberal position and one of these is a very conservative position. And those overlap with lazy bums or just compassion with no compassion is not even the right word. What I see in a lot of like liberal kind of like compassion work, care for the poor type work is pity, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like just take something like someone says, I don't know, you come into like something we're doing and someone's like let's say someone comes in here. You guys let people come in here. And someone's like, yo, go get me a drink. You'd be like, get your own. Like the fridge is right. Like you're more than welcome here, but you're not welcome to talk to people any way you want.
Right.
Right. That's a great example of just like relational dynamics. Like I do have some expectations in relationship of just like how it's okay to talk to me and my people and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's too hard. So those are the easier things to land on. Like we're good at polarizing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's safer that way. There's not, it just take out the gray area altogether.
But it's really interesting because right now I'm watching there's a ton of people moving from California to Florida.
Right.
That has a lot to do with some of the homeless and stuff, but then it also has to do with coronavirus. Like so it's how government tries to leverage power and why.
Yeah.
And they're very different. They're different poles of the spectrum and that's going to be good for Florida economically.
Sure.
It is going to be. I don't know what that's going to mean for the vulnerable here.
Yeah, I think, when you look at one of the things that dawned on me when I was in California was part of the problem is that there isn't a middle class anymore because, the rich got richer and then the poor got poorer. And so now you're seeing a lot of like working class poor or working class homeless people in California because you can't afford to live anywhere.
It's very expensive.
Where, just checking the recent rates in Tampa, it's like doubled in the last 10 years.
If not tripled. Yeah.
Right.
It's substantially booming. And I don't think it's going to stop.
Well, then that's
the market may turn
goes.
in the country, but I don't think Florida's going to turn. It's just going to keep going up and up and up because of what just happened.
Right.
Like the whole country wants to move here.
Yeah. Which is not good.
Ultimately, right. Yeah. It's like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's still some exciting stuff. Like, it's like, man, look at that. We're popular. Things are going well here, but yeah.
Always wanted to be popular.
It's both and, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So let's go to a simple topic here. Theology. I just wanted to go to this wonderful topic of yours because I've watched you change over the last, so many years. And I'm sure you could look at me and say, yeah, you've definitely changed. But when you do the type of work that you and I do day in and day out, you end up changing. It shapes you. It changes you.
Right, yeah.
And, obviously hopefully it's for the better, especially, you don't give up and you keep persevering, but it's going to change you.
Mm-hmm.
So, it must be great, and I'm not knocking them, but to be just like a regular Christian church person, a Sunday church person, and you give your little tithe and you make a sandwich for somebody once a week. But when you're faced with the poor, the destitute, day in, day out, theology takes on a new form, especially when the churches that don't necessarily have to deal with it day in and day out can say things like, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And, don't worry, you're just this new creation and everything, just the trite sayings.
That's the word.
That people tend to use. But when you're in the middle of a mental breakdown with your people, you tend to be like, okay, these scriptures got to mean something else. And so I've watched you go through your own personal theological struggle over the years and to land on your feet again. Maybe share some about that.
Well, you might have to steer me a little bit on what you want me to share, but I will say.
How has your theology changed?
I mean,
in 10 years, 13 years.
I don't even know how to articulate that. It is also ineffable, right? So, the easiest thing to do is to say, every day, I would say the process of gaining wisdom is the same as the process of becoming agnostic. And what I mean by that is not knowing. So like there's this old story of Socrates. They said Socrates, this oracle says Socrates is the wisest person in all of Athens. And he's like, I'm an idiot. I'm not the wisest person. So he goes around. This is like, you can read these dialogues in the last days of Socrates where there's, Plato's work. Runs around. He talks to people that are kind of known for being wise. And he talks to them, and then he kind of walks away from every conversation going, this person's a fool. But the reason they're a fool is they think they know.
Yeah.
And in the end, he's like, turns out I am the wisest person. But the only reason I'm the wisest person is I know I'm an idiot. Basically.
Yeah.
It's the gist of the story, right? And I actually think that's right. So we have the kind of the trite, untried truths that, it's like, I read this in the Bible. It must be true. It might be true, but like, have you tried it? And so this is, like I said in the beginning, I like to take ideas, go flesh them out. And so I'm like, well, let's see. Like, just like Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. I'm like, well, we'll see about that. Right. You know what I mean? Or can I make one subservient? Can I do economics under the kingdom? Like, because there's got to be a place for a kingdom economy. I need to figure that out. That's just the ordering of the household. So like I have ideas about that. Let me go try. Let's see. That's a 4-year process, and the question mark is still there. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know. So far, so good. The house was a similar idea. It was like, how far can you take hospitality, love of neighbor, neighborliness, things like that. And these things should transform you. And that's my intention. Like, take your idea and go get it beat up, and then come back and have a better idea, and then go get that one beat up. And I always joke, like when I'm driving with someone and the GPS goes, you have arrived. And I'm like, you should always remind yourself you haven't. Like, you haven't arrived. You've never arrived.
Right.
And that kind of like conviction around not knowing, not being clean, it's like, if you let go of these like delusions that you can accomplish something, that you're made whole, that you're, clean and whatever. It's like, no, I've actually surrendered those pursuits to the kingdom. Like, it's just like, just try, just do the work, invest. So I'm way less certain.
Yeah.
I'm way less certain about things. I have tons of conviction and I speak with conviction. So I might sound certain at times, it's an interesting thing between like conviction. Like, I actually like puzzle over this a lot. Like, what's the difference? Like, to speak with conviction versus like to be prideful. Those are very different things, but it's sometimes hard to tell the difference. Yeah. In like moment in a snapshot, So I could sound quite arrogant. And potentially I am quite arrogant. But I think at some final analysis, it's like, I speak with conviction and I hold ideas very seriously, like, but I also hold them with an open hand. So I'm like, I believe this thing today and I'm going to try it out tomorrow. And I'm totally free to like not hold on to that. So yeah, it's transformed me a lot. So I could, maybe if you ask me like a specific thing that's changed, I could zero in on some things, but like, what is the church? What is the kingdom? What is God even? That's just so I think I used to be able to answer those questions in a much more certain way.
Right.
And now I'm like, the questions themselves are the more meaningful things. Like, my whole life is a pursuit of figuring that out.
It's totally,
let's
the
see.
Change.
Yeah,
that's
right. Like, I don't actually know, and I'm not quite certain, but the journey is everything. And I'm experiencing life in it. And what was promised was life. And I'm experiencing life. And so when you said it might be nice to be a regular Christian churchgoer and give your little tithe or serve your little sandwiches, I, to be honest, kind of tremble at that idea.
Sure.
Because I actually think that is deadly, and almost like, I don't want to like hate on it, but I think it's dangerous.
Well, I for one, yes, I agree. But I also think that that's not just a church thing. That's a personality thing. So
there is a temperamental
there's
set
a temperamental
as well.
set here.
Right.
Like even if you didn't believe in Jesus at all, didn't do
No,
ministry,
I would start an organized crime family.
Yeah, exactly. You'd still be extreme at something.
Yeah.
You're not going to go just sit somewhere and be
I'm going to blow up buildings. I'm going to start an organized crime unit. I'm going to do something like that. That's right. And temperamentally, that's how I am. That's how you are.
That's
right?
how I am. Yeah.
And then you've got kind of other temperaments, and yet I don't think any temperament. So you're right. There's a lot of people that are not going to be pioneers.
Right.
But I don't think any temperament makes an excuse for passivity.
Yeah.
Or like checking a box. I actually think, so this is actually, this was a really meaningful book because I had a 3-year period. So this is part of that answer to that question.
Yep.
There was a 3-year period where I basically God died to me. Mm-hmm. I experienced this kind of dark night. It lasted 3 years. I stayed in the game, just leaning on the faith of my friends.
Yep.
I was like, well, I'm still going to go through the motions because I don't have a better idea. And if I leave this, I'm going to do some really dangerous stuff. So
I remember
I'm going to pause the conclusion because I'm going to do some dangerous stuff. Like I'm going to be your worst neighbor. Like as soon as I pull the trigger on this. So I didn't want to do that without being sure. And so I spent 3 years in this like really dark place. And I actually am grateful for it. I think it's probably in some way the absence of God in my life was the most meaningful encounter with God I've ever had in hindsight. Mm-hmm. Like it shaped me. It was like the best gift I could have been given. But I read a book during that time. There's a couple books I point to where I'm like, this was a really meaningful book. One of them was Paul Tillich's Dynamics of Faith. I think it's a phenomenal book. But in it, this is a super paraphrase. This isn't like a quote, but he's like, all right, you got two guys. One guy says, I don't know. I believe in God. I believe in just the creed. I believe these things. And then goes about his life and is quite certain of his faith and like sleeps well at night, whatever. Then you have this other guy who questions every one of those statements and is tormented by those questions and is up all night, like with ultimate concern gnawing at him. He can't sleep, he can't eat, and he's just tormented by these ideas. He's like, which of these two is engaged in a life of faith? And he's like, the answer is the one that's up all night, the one whose concerns are ultimate, not the one who checks a box on a creed. And to me, I was like, well, what an affirming thing to read as I lay awake all night reading these books because I can't shake the traumatic existential, like, the bottom fell out of everything. And so for me, I'm like, that was really helpful, really encouraging actually in that. And so, yeah.
We shared a lot in that because that was actually, I went through mine at the same time where we've really been parallel. And when we both went through it, then Underground we did a couple seminars together on the dark night of the soul.
Yeah. I actually remember we titled it Walking in the Dark.
Yes.
And to this day, I think about it always. Not because of the content, but because it was standing room only.
Yes.
Because I was like, you know what this says? Is it says that we're all in this place and we never talk about it. We're never honest about it. And all of us are like, probably not. I don't know. I doubt. I fear. We're gripped with this. And yet we go to churches that sing songs of it's why I kind of can't sit through church services anymore. Honestly, I have a really hard time because I'm like, can we sing a song like this? Can we sing a psalm of lament? Can we sing like, my God, why have you forsaken me? Can we write that song and sing it together? Because if we can't, I don't want to come to this.
Yeah.
Because it isn't represent. Now, I know that's not why people come. We want to be like triumphant and we're all about Easter rather than crucifixion and that kind of thing. But like in a very real way, I was like, I thought that seminar and the fact that so many people came to it was like evidence, like none of them, if you survey them and said, do you need this? Maybe they wouldn't say, you know what I really need? I really need to talk about how much I question my faith, how much I doubt, how much I feel like I'm in the dark and abandoned and God's not real and God's not here and no one's listening to my prayers. Like that's what I need to talk about. And yet, and then, it's on a breakout session in a conference and like half the thing wanted to come in that room. There were people outside the room trying to listen.
Just to give you a mental view, it was scary in the room. because I would get claustrophobic. And I remember you and I, like, you came in a little bit late and you're like, whoa, there's a lot of people here.
You had to like fight your way out. If you had to get out of there.
Like,
we definitely broke some fire codes.
We had like 2-3 feet on each side, and like there was people standing all the way around the room. It was like, and I remember just being like, man, I need a fan. It's hot.
What it was hot. One of the things I love about that setting is that I could say whatever I want, and the people in the front row are not going to get up and leave because you just can't. I was like, oh, I'm going to talk right to these people in the front. I'm going to say the hardest truths, punch them right in the throat with it.
And it was actually really moving. A lot of people came up after, and it's like being a pioneer was being the person that was willing to say, I've struggled with my faith, and I've struggled with even being here right now. And just people being like, thank you. I'm glad to hear that from somebody standing in the front of the room finally. And
that's super important.
It's so important. And I think this year, if anything, hopefully has brought that out of places that normally you wouldn't see that, because I think a lot of people have been humbled in the last, coronavirus type of situation that we've had. So hopefully we'll see more people being willing to be vulnerable, transparent. Tell me about work ethic and, your podcast and like what you're trying to do there. We'd went a little while without seeing each other or talking to each other. And then all of a sudden you're like on this self-help kick. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. But
that's so funny. So no one has ever said that I was on a self-help kick, but I'll take it. So, I'll tell you what happened. So this is kind of back to like, all right. So like, here, I'll give you a framework, like just about like missionaries. So here's a great, like you had a book coming out.
Yep.
Right. I'm super grateful for it. I don't know what it says, but I'm super grateful for it for this reason. You're a practitioner.
Right.
I almost don't care what you say because a practitioner is putting a book out.
Right.
Because most of the books you read are theoretical. Someone sat in an ivory tower, thought of what might work, did some studies, which is great. Yeah. Like I've learned so much from people that are just thinkers. But people that are doing the work don't have time to write it down. So that's part of it. But I would be quite content to like go into a library and never come out. Like I have like I could just do theoretical. Yeah. I love the abstract, but because of this conviction about the cycle, I need to be practical. I need to do that. So I'm a practitioner, but I tend toward that abstract, right? So I like when I get opportunities to teach or to lead a class or things like that, because it gives me an excuse, frankly, to schedule some time to sit down and think and put my thoughts down and whatever. So the Underground does this kind of summer institute, and they reached out and said, hey, is there anything you would like to teach? And I'd been talking with Filet, and I was like, I'd like to do something with her. And I think that there's something that we could do together, which is we did a class that was, I forget exactly what we called it, but it was like developing a philosophy of work or a theology of work or something like that. So, class 1. Work existed before the fall, right? It was a gift from God. Just carry on from there, right? Like there's something valuable here, and it's unfortunate the way we frame it and talk about work is soul sucking, this and that. So I want to talk about that. Well, then we wrote that class, and I was like overwhelmingly, like I realized I could talk about and think about this for the rest of my life. And I actually don't even want to go do anything else. Like just doing it, I was like, well, this is almost dangerous for me. Yeah. Because I could just go into like the work philosophy, like library and never come out again. Yeah. And just let that be my work. Go into like this flow state in that. And so, but I realized it's also really hard work to put that content together, this, that, and the other. But I was like, what if I just take these things I'm saying and I convert them? Because afterward, I was like, I don't want it to be over for me. Like it's now I have an itch that I need to scratch. And I also knew, man, I'm not going to sit and write all this stuff. I'm way too busy. My plate is way too full. I can't, but I want to. And so I was like, well, why don't I just put my statements that I want to make into question forms and then ask everyone that'll sit down with me. Yeah. Like, well, tell me about your relationship with work. Tell me about your first memories of what work is as the word took on meaning in your life. Tell me what you think success is. Mm-hmm. And so then we could talk to, a lunchroom lady, entrepreneur, executive, trash man, college student, athlete, you name it. Because it's like, work is a feature, and and a core conviction of this for me was like, I believe you need to work. So when I talk with my friends on the streets that are unemployed, I still will say you need to work, but no one's hiring. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You need to build something, do something, carry some weight, take responsibility for something. You need it. And so I just was like, man, I really believe in work. And I'm echoing that all the time with people. And I also think technology is going in a direction there's going to be less and less jobs. There's no more drivers. There's no more cashiers. Just give it a minute. It's already a wrap. So I'm like, oh, jobs are coming to an end. And what I see in this unemployed population is about to be true of like half the planet. And if we don't rethink the way we think about work itself, we're doomed, because I think it's deadly. So those kind of things coalesced, and I went, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down for 2 hours with people, and I'm just going to just let them talk about their relationship with work and what are you working on? What do you believe about work? What's your philosophy of work? What's your memories of work? That's it. And then just let people tell their stories. And so the way I frame it, because people are like, oh, how many people listen? I'm like, I actually never look at it, because I mean, people listen, and it's valuable. And I love hearing from people, like, it's valuable. But for me, it's really important to not care about that or not look at that, because I'm like, well, I'm doing something. So I'm scratching my own itch, and I'm accumulating what I would just say is field research. Like, well, you know what comes up a lot? Like struggle and sacrifice, flow state, definitions of success. And I'm like, and so what I'm creating, what I'm able to be extracted from this is like a meta relationship with work. Like if you talk to enough people, it's just an inductive process of coming to some conclusions about what work means to us and in the world and to our purposes in life and to what we're built for. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, because it's like, if we can be purposeful about what we do in life, life can take on so many more meanings, where when we just go through each day and it just happens and it's another day, and, it doesn't really matter. But when you can look at something like, okay, I'm doing these podcasts, I'm meeting with people, you know what? I'm learning from this. I could take all this information, and who knows what I can do with it down the road.
That's right.
It could be something else. And that is like your philosophy of work, where a lot of people don't see that. They think of work just in the terms of I punch in, clock out.
Yep.
But your whole life is a work.
Yeah,
if you focus on the right things.
A work of art, a performance art. It's all of the above.
If you can look at your life as a work of art, then you can begin to live life to the fullest.
Well, and that's so like I really do, and if you listen to enough of the show, you'll realize like I hate the idea of work-life balance. But I love the idea of integration. So I totally believe in like taking a break, going and being with your family, but that is also something you should be investing in, sacrificing for. Like the themes don't change, and what people mean by that, I probably affirm, but I don't like the framing. Like you work so you can go live your life. I'm like, no, you live as a work, as something to do. And then honestly, man, it's given me an ability to ask people to meet that probably wouldn't otherwise sit down with me. That's nice.
Right.
Yeah. Like it is like hit up an author and be like, I want to ask you about that book. And like, I'd love to come on. I'm like, you wouldn't have talked to me, but we have a podcast.
You have a podcast.
Never mind. 12 people are going to listen. No.
And 3 of them are family members. So
and the other 3 are me 3 times.
Well, we found out we could add, if we have different email addresses, each person could be like one person.
Yeah,
so
send that to some sponsors.
It's funny because, well, not funny, not funny. Because I am writing the book, and I'll show you when we're finished here. But I finished actually.
Yeah. How's that feel?
It feels pretty cool. The manuscript's done, but now we're presenting it to publishers, and I have to show how popular I am. And I'm not very popular because I'm a practitioner. So I'm like, how many people follow you? How many people, like that whole like.
You don't have the platform. Yeah. Right.
What's your platform? Anyways, but back to what you said in the beginning about the book, where you said, being a practitioner. The funny thing is, the book is going to be controversial. And it's probably going to get me in some hot water, which, I have a co-author, and she's been key to this because I am a practitioner, so I don't have time to sit down. But so she's helped me put my thoughts on paper. And she's like, helpful. This is controversial. She's like, because the book is aimed at teaching the church how to better walk with people through addiction, mental health issues, and suicidal thoughts. And so I'm trying to help love the church in a way that says, I love you, but this is wrong and we have to change this. And so there's a lot of controversial things in it. And so she's written other books and she's like, listen, I've written a book on grace and we're getting crucified by people. And she's like, grace. And she's like, you're going to really take some heat. Are you ready for that? And I said, yeah, because I'm a practitioner. I know what I do day in and day out. And so if you're going to come at me and tell me that my approach at working with people with mental health or addiction problems is wrong, well, then I have a background of people that got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years sober to lean on and say, I'm doing the work. So you're free to not like the way I look at things or the way I view things, but you can't tell me that what I do doesn't work because I can take you to where it does.
Yeah.
So it's practitioners over people that just want to theorize over this could be a way to do something. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Yep.
It's like, practice.
Yeah, and time will tell. This isn't helpful to get a book out, but it is helpful personally to just not care what other people think or do. Like, I'm like, that's none of my business what you think or what you do, and it doesn't affect. Like, oh, you disagree with me? Okay, that's fine. Like, we're good.
I have to admit something though. The other day I did post something, a very non-controversial thing about how people should just love themselves and love God. And if they need help, they should get it. And I had some woman say, comment, this is wrong. They should never turn to witchcraft. And then in parentheses, she put counselors and psychiatrists. And for a moment I sat there and I was like, okay, you're Looney Tunes. You're off. Do not follow. It's just like, if you're gonna making comments like that, where, I'm not ready for it, John. I think I'm gonna burn the whole system down. So,
well, yeah, just don't look at it.
Just don't look at it.
Just let it be.
Just
People
let
can
it be.
say whatever they want, think whatever they want. Like, it's pretty self-evident. Oh, you equate witches and therapists? Okay.
Okay.
Show your cards, lady.
All right.
I think we're done here.
I think
yeah.
What's next for Jon Dengler?
I would say my entire adult life, I would describe as walking down a dark hallway, grasping for the corners. And so at some level, I have no idea. But I am working with some guys from around the country that are trying to conceptualize the missionary as city builder, to build cities in our cities, to build like kingdom ecosystems. And so I am really excited to be working with them. That's going to be like a portion of my time, because I want to be careful not to get like caught up in the translocal kind of thing. But I do think like maybe we could take our collective experiences and put them together and find other leaders in other places and go, hey, there's a bit of a model here. There's a bit of a thing, right? That from practitioners from other places, we saw it happen here. That is like rethinking even what it means to be the church or the people of God, or what we're doing. That's happening. I'm just trying to really, like, I finally have come to where, like, I really think that the model we've come up with in launching the bike shop, and this is related to this other thing, is like we've come up with this, like, okay, we've got a bit of a nonprofit holding company now with the Well that I've been like dreaming of for a long time, but we actually have, I think, 4 LLCs held by the nonprofit now. And we're building out this template, and I'm trying to bring on a couple staff. I just struggle with finding, having the funds or whatever, but bringing on a couple people to help kind of build this out, build out some systems and things so we can really offer kind of support, so that like when someone has this dream and this idea, there's like, we can partner with them to really kind of grow and launch what I'm hoping is businesses mainly. But like also this could be lots of things that could exist in neighborhood initiative and things like that. But like to build something like the bike shop, businesses that themselves are good neighbors, a demonstration of the way business can be done. I think a current experiment maybe in like, I believe that nonprofit and for-profit is a fairly meaningless distinction it's just an IRS code. And nonprofits go around and panhandle and they don't know how to make money. And then for-profits just worry about the bottom line. Actually, by law, you can actually be sued for making decisions that aren't just about the bottom line in some cases, which is why I'm glad to see things like B Corp. And now you got companies that are at least greenwashing and like marketing themselves as good neighbors. And like, I think that's a sign of what's coming. It's like nonprofit will need to make money. For-profit will need to be a good neighbor. And so, like you'll hear people hear me say a lot, like I'm rehearsing the world I dream of, but also anticipating the world that's pretty obviously coming. Mm-hmm. And I do think while the bike shop isn't like throwing off a ton of cash, it is sustaining itself. Like if we get to the end of the month and we're at zero, but we paid our staff and we paid our bills, like that's a successful business that is providing reliable transportation to neighbors that need it, that is serving the needs of some people that can't afford it. And I'm quite happy with that. Can we iterate on that? Now we are talking with some people from other places. Maybe there's other bike shops, other places that we coach or consult with or even franchise. I mean, I'm open to whatever because I have no master plan.
Right.
I'm just like, what's the next right step with this? And so I'm open to scaling WellBuilt bikes. I think it's a really good thing that should exist in every city where there's people without transportation and bikes going into the landfill. It's like, well, let's just start valuing these things that we don't value, put them together, whatever. But I also think there's opportunity, whether that's in food production or groceries or, there's a lot of just good businesses that could be run that could really meet real needs of our community, both as employment, but also as like serving and loving the community. And so I want to experiment with that a bunch. And I want to find entrepreneurial, gifted people that want to launch something and see if we can't do it together a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, what's next is more of the same. I actually think like we've just started, and so, but it's taking shape and, so keep fanning our little flame and see what we can do. Still is just effort that they tried.
Most importantly, as I was going to say, is they tried, and don't be bored.
Well, right. So that, exactly. Like and by the way, I think, if you, so I mentioned flow state talking about the work ethic, but like, this is a very meaningful experience. So it, everybody knows it. Even if you don't know it by that name, it's just like a term people give it, like being in the zone or something like that. But like, it's the experience, and all of you listening know this experience. At some point, you've done something that was challenging, that you lost track of time, that you forgot to eat, that you worked 8 hours straight, and you kind of come up from the work and you're like, oh my gosh, maybe you were like building a model of something, or you were learning something or playing a game. It could be whatever, video games.
Does drinking count?
No, that's different. Although maybe there's I don't know. So like, but you kind of go into what's called flow state, a zone, whatever. And actually you lose self-consciousness in that. You perform at a really high level because you're not questioning every move. And it's kind of like, kind of a peak performance zone to be in. And if you look at researchers of flow, by the way, don't make major life decisions in flow state. That's a good, it's kind of a drunkenness as well. You could use a little self-consciousness sometimes. But if you look at researchers, they will actually map. So let's just take this. Like if you do something that's really easy for you and you're really good at it, you're going to be bored. And if you do something that's impossible for you, like you're not able to accomplish it, you're going to be overwhelmed with anxiety and it'll take you out. You won't be able to accomplish it. And right in the middle of boredom and anxiety is a sweet spot. And that sweet spot triggers what they call flow state. And so like and this is related to our work ethic. It's like, just because you gained, you always have to reach for the next rung on the ladder. Like however far you're able to reach, you need to reach beyond it ecstatically. You need to push yourself beyond what you're capable of. But not go, I just learned how to surf and I'm going to go out and ride these 27-foot waves because you're just going to die. Right. So you got to find that thing that's just beyond your abilities. And in my mind, I think the experience of that timeless moment, that experience is a taste of eternal life. I'm like, I actually think that's the same thing. It's the kairos. It's the pregnant now, the eternal now. And I have thought a lot about that experience just theologically. And I think our entire lives should be that. So like, when I first moved to the neighborhood, I was nervous, but then it became home and now I'm not nervous. So I need to go do something that makes me more nervous. And I actually equate nervousness with following Jesus. If none of this makes me nervous, then I got to figure out what's next. And because hard things turn boring over a long enough time.
You got to have risk.
You got to take risks. You got to push yourself. You got to grow. And that's related. So like, just to close that kind of like, and so I am way more prone to boredom than anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to do like, that's not going to be the threat. I'm going to try things I'm not capable of. But what, it's kind of that the actual thing is like, notice when you're not nervous, notice when this is getting dull or boring or monotonous, and then try to take another step.
Yeah. You just described recovery, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's everything.
Yeah.
I really do. I just think it's like, this is just how to move forward soberly in a healthy life. And it applies to your relationships. Like, it's going really well. Cool. Now try to tell the truth. Because that's going to threaten everything.
But it's literally it, though. It's like, if you want it's literally what it is. So trying to help somebody be sober, it's like, if you don't set your goals high enough, you'll achieve them and then get bored and relapse.
Yeah.
If you set them too high, you'll just be like, I suck, and you'll relapse. Mm-hmm. So the key is to recognize the gift you've been given as this new life in sobriety, and what does it look like to challenge yourself day in and day out with God, and allowing Him to mold you and transform you into this new human being. Yeah. So there has to be that little bit of one more rung ahead of you know what I mean? That's just straining one a little bit, just a little harder. Have you ever listened to anything from the neuroscientist Andrew Huberman?
Well, I don't know. I love neuroscience, but I don't know the name.
He's my idol. I talk about him to everybody. So
what's his name? I'll write it down.
Andrew Huberman. You can get his podcast. It's Huberman Lab,
mm-hmm.
and he studies, his thing as a neuroscientist is the reward system and ocular system, which is don't get me started on the ocular system.
I geek out on this stuff constantly. I think it's completely related.
Yeah, and but just the way he talks about. He's really big at working with a lot of the people in the flow state mindset. He doesn't think that there is the flow state in the way that people use the word. Mm-hmm. He's like, people are always like, I want to achieve it. He's like, it's a life of working it out. Basically what you just explained it. But he's highly recommend him. Anybody listening, check out Andrew Huberman Lab, all about the reward system and how to live a life that is fulfilled. He's from Stanford. Genius, whatever, really cool to listen to. So
check it out.
So Jon Dengler, my friend, this has been a blast, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, dude, I could do this all day with you. This is great.
This is great. Every time we'd go to lunch, it'd be like 3 hours. So I'm like, let's just do the podcast.
We should record one of them. Yeah,
just record it. Hey, maybe we'll do like one of those ones where we're eating and doing the recording. At the same time.
You want to hear me chew in the microphone? That'd be good.
All right, everybody, check it out. Jon Dengler. Have a great day. Peace.